Hello, dear YouTubers and dear polyglot community. Now, this video will be titled Learn Languages to Travel or Travel to Learn Languages. So I would like to deal with this kind of issue about learning languages in a country, in the target country, or learning at home and using it once you are there. So, from my own experience, I know that learning in your country and then going to the country is way more efficient than learning once start to learn when you get there. So why? For practical reasons. First of all, you can learn any language if you have the resources at home, so you don't need to be physically there. But sometimes we have to speak about motivation. Motivation is a key factor. As for instance, I learned Thai for a year, almost a year, and there was a problem. I was not surrounded by Thai people here in my country, so this is kind of a problem to maintain the motivation. To maintain motivation, you need to be surrounded by the people who speak the language. So, I had an objective for Thai language. It was to reach 150 hours of studying Thai. I reached it, and I was just not motivated enough to carry on learning it. So this is the motivation. So I was learning at the same time Bulgarian and Thai, and I obviously knew that I was not going back to Thailand, but I was going for the first time this year and this summer to Bulgaria, to the Black Sea coast. So I prepared my trip because I wanted to get to know Bulgarian people, because there are a lot of stereotypes here in Western Europe about Bulgarian people, and those are very false stereotypes. I want to defend the rights to good stereotypes for Eastern European countries, such as I don't really know Romania, but Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova, Ukraine, and all those countries in Eastern Europe, because people are real in those countries. So let's talk about my experience learning Bulgarian. 7 months before going to Bulgaria, I decided to learn Bulgarian, and I committed myself to study at least half an hour every day, at least, and I did not miss out one single day, because you have to gain in intensity, and the stages are really progressive when you learn a language which is totally unknown. I don't know any Slavic language, so it was hard at the beginning, and you get discouraged after 1 month, 2 months. I remember going to a Turkish store here in Brussels and to speak to the people who were working for the owner, and they were Turkish from Bulgaria, and I barely understood what they said, but I did not get discouraged, because I like how the language sounds. This is very important. If you learn a language, you have to like the sounds of the language, how it is constructed, and always find reason why the language is easy, and not find reason to say, oh, this language is hard because of that, or a list. No, you have to find the reasons why the language is easy, so it will motivate you to learn more. So I kept on learning until I went to Bulgaria for the first time. And once I was there, like in the video I posted on my experience in Bulgaria, I did not really want to speak it because I was not confident enough. but my parents pushed me always like, speak Bulgarian. You will know, and you will never speak this language in another country. So you have to speak it now. You have to seize the opportunity. I said, oh, why not? Why not? And we went to a sand exhibition. There was kind of sculptures and sands from artists from Ukraine, Belgium, Bulgaria, Russia, of fairy tales. I don't know, um, the Seven Dwarfs and all that stuff. And there, I just started to chat with the old guy who was selling souvenirs, and I immediately knew that Bulgarian people were warm people. They are not like, they like to speak to foreigners, they like to communicate, they are open to several mentalities. They don't even see you as a foreigner. In my case, it's obvious I'm foreigner. I'm not, I don't look like any other Slavic people from Slavic countries, but they really consider you as a local. And at the end, I remembered I got my first present. So I got a small flag of Bulgaria. Like I was walking around with this flag, and everyone was looking at me. So it's pretty interesting. I love the colors of this flag. It's kind of the same colors of Italy, but just put together in another way. So when you get that good feeling, that first good feeling when you learn a language and you go to the country, it really, really motivates you to learn more. And what I really recommend you, when you go to that given country, you have to set a rule. Yeah, you have to uh, abide by a rule. That principle is that you will never use English. In any case, you will never use English. If you need it, you will speak in sign language, but never use English. Never be tempted by using English, because this is the challenge. And I had some troubles sometimes in Turkey or Bulgaria where I could not understand what they told me, or I could not express what I wanted. But eventually, I always managed to find a solution, and that's what really motivates me to speak only the language. I get this feeling when I'm there, whether it be Turkey or Bulgaria or any other country where I know the language, it doesn't even come to my mind to speak English, because I dedicated so many hours learning this local language. Why would I try to escape and try to use English? It's useless. Um, and people in those countries really like when you speak their language. So it's very efficient to learn like 7 months to 1 year before going to the country, and use only the language, the local language, when you are over there. Sometimes it was very difficult at the airport when they asked me something about luggage. I did not get it, and they switched over to English, but I was still speaking in Bulgarian because I wanted to practice until the end of my stay in Bulgaria. Yeah, really amazing experience to speak only the local language. You get the spirit of the country that you cannot get with any other international language, especially English, because those who speak English um, sometimes try to sell stuff to you, which is not the case in Bulgaria. And what can I say more about it? Yeah, when you're once in the country, try to buy some textbooks or even magazines, whatever you can find, recordings or something you cannot find on the internet and cannot find in your local bookstore. So find it there and get it back, and try to improve your language skills. So to sum up everything, if you decide to learn a language of a given country, try to learn it at least 7 months before going to the country. To give you a little bit time, at least invest every single day half an hour listening to dialogues, repeating dialogues, sometimes writing it, and just get used to the language. Sometimes you can have a glance at the grammar rules, but it's not essential. You can just read it to get a feel, but if you don't accumulate enough knowledge in the language, it's useful to try to nail down all those intricacies of grammar. So um, everyday study, this is essential to succeed, and um, review what you see. What I actually do when I have a dialogue, I listen to it a few times to get the music of the language or of the dialogue. Once I get the feel, I try to repeat sentence after sentence. I listen a sentence, I repeat a sentence, and so on. Once I have done this a few times, I know how to read the dialogue with the correct, let's say, accent or pronunciation. So I don't need the recording anymore, and I can read it. And I start to count when I read it. I usually read it twice a day, only twice a day, a dialogue, and I mark it like 2 times. And I have to do it at least 10 times, but not 10 times in a while, just 10 times in 5 days. So let's say Monday 2 times, um, Monday, Thursday, or Friday. I review it 5 times, and each time 2 times, so twice. So it gets fresh in your memory. A lot of people ask me, how can you retain all those words of vocabulary? You don't actually retain them. They get into your brain when you get exposed to them repeatedly, and that's how you actually work with your brain. You have to get some repetition of the same thing, but not boring repetition. Sometimes you listen to it, sometimes you repeat it, sometimes you do something. Every time you try to vary your activities. So, and the third part is to practice once you are in the country, or even before you go to the country. Don't hesitate to practice in your own country whenever you get a chance to practice the language. This is key to maintain your motivation, and you will see that when you go to a country and you know some, even if you just know basic stuff, how to order a meal, speak about the weather, basic stuff, you can um, you will not be 100% a foreigner, but you will be some kind of part of them, because you know a great deal of their culture, and you know some of their language, and it will be possible to get together with them, and you will have amazing adventures, and you never know where you will be and with whom you will try to communicate, and that's really amazing. I remember arriving to a Bulgarian restaurant at the seaside, and there was a table next to us. They were speaking, and the owner of the restaurant was speaking to two beautiful Ukrainian girls, and uh, I don't know why he started to look at me and smile, and I just spoke in Bulgarian because I don't know Russian. I said, "Здравейте," and I just asked, "Можем да седнем с вас can can I sit with you? And they said, yeah, okay. And I remember I sat there at least 2 hours. The owner had asked me, "Говоришь по-русски?" And I was, no, I just know Bulgarian, some basic stuff in Bulgarian. I don't know Russian. And I just said, oh my god, I needed to learn some Russian, because with Russian you can communicate with a lot of Eastern European countries and also from Central Asia. Although in some countries with Turkish you can get by, like Turkmenistan, you can kind of get by with Turkish spoken in Turkey. It's pretty similar and you can learn it quickly. Yeah, and that's why now I decided to learn Russian. And there are some similarities between Bulgarian and Russian, although Bulgarian grammar is a little bit more like analytic. They have prepositions, a fixed order in the sentence, and no declensions. A very few declensions in Bulgarian. It's one of the one. I think it's the only Slavic language which doesn't have any declension. It's not like Russian. You have to say "Я хочу стакан воды," and now and not "вода." In Bulgarian, voda it's voda. Искам voda. Voda na masata. Voda is always voda, and this is kind of very useful not to worry about declensions. Um, yeah, recently I discovered a very interesting podcast on Russian for Russians, people who are learning Russian at an intermediate level. I'm not even I'm just beginner in Russian, so I will use it later. I will put it here in the description box so that you can learn from the podcast. It's free of charge, and the great thing about this podcast is that you get a transcript and with a vocabulary list of difficult words in French, both in French and English. And the great stuff is that you get a recording with the dialogue which is playing, and afterwards the teacher, I don't remember her name, but she explains in Russian all the difficult words, and she does not use English to explain it. So this is really useful for people learning Russian to listen to the explanation in Russian. Although you don't understand every single word, if you get the big picture and the image, I think it's okay. Yeah, if you have some experience with learning Slavic languages, especially Bulgarian, Russian, and also the Balkan language like Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, please let's share some resources to learn those languages. Yeah, this video is pretty long now. I will conclude here right now. And thank you for your listening. And if you have interesting thoughts, you can always post a video response or comment on a video. Yeah, please comment. So constructive comments are really great, so we can exchange and let's discover the world. And many thanks to all my Bulgarian friends for their kindness and everything. Had a great I had a great time in this country and I will never forget it. Thank you. Bye.